Hi, everybody. My name is Hemant Prabhakaran, and I'm from Standard Chartered Bank, Singapore. And I head the group operations, data analytics, and insights. So, pretty much everything to do about the data I own within the Standard Chartered Bank. And today, I'm going to take you through my innovation journey, something which we have created within Standard Chartered Bank, which has created an immense value for the bank and the bank users. And it's called SmartBot. And the subject is basically how we did a data democratization with the help of the artificial intelligence. So there are plenty of news around this topic these days. Even this is one of the hot topic in the Gartner hypercycle. So I'm going to cover how practically we achieved it and what's value which we gained. So before I jump into the presentation, I have a bit of introduction about myself. So around 16 years of experience, and I worked on multiple various roles within Standard Chartered, and before that, Credit Suisse and Maersk. There are plenty of organizations I've been around the world in many countries. And my expertise is main data. I love doing anything about data. So one of the data enthusiast. So I have a team which has been started from the scratch, and today it's about 120 people within Standard Chartered Bank, and they're delivering immense value in various aspects to the Standard Chartered Bank customers and the stakeholders. Okay, so let's jump into the SmartBot, what we are going to see today. Okay, so every challenge is an opportunity. That's what I feel. So let me explain what's the challenge which I've been through Standard Chartered. So Standard Chartered is one of the global organization. It's quite massive because it offers all kinds of banking as a service, from a retail banking, corporate and private wealth and commercial. And it's been done across 40 plus markets, and one of the unique bank which has 1,200 branches around the world. In fact, the employees is basically 85,000 people working within Standard Chartered Bank. What it signifies is basically the complexity actually which we hold, and the various geographies which we serve, right? So there are plenty of challenges. There is no doubt about it. So that's what I'm going to talk about it. So one of the key challenge what we faced within the bank was the accessing the data actually. So in fact, I belong to group operations, which is about 25,000 people only working in group operations, which is primarily supporting the bank back office operations. So that's a lot, in fact. And I have a team who's supporting the day-to-day base needs of the 25,000 people in terms of providing them analytics, data, and insights as a service. So that's my day job. So one of the interesting insight what we have uncovered during my journey was basically when we really understood what this 25,000 people, how they're spending their time in a typical day. So we realized there's a significant amount of time they've been spending on some of the IT stuffs. So when we looked more in deeper, actually, what happened was we realized as part of their job, they need more insights, more data in order to either supporting the customer operations, either supporting their sales, either supporting the marketing, everywhere as a data as a touch point. So how they really utilize this data in a day-to-day basis is basically they access this data from multiple systems and they hustle with this data in order to get an insight out of it. By the time they do it, what happens is basically there could be an escalation in terms of a customer service, or maybe there could be a lost opportunity, or maybe they might be waiting for days and weeks to get this insight out of this data. Actually, that's a huge insight which we got. That means, like, typically to turn a data into a decision through an insight and support the action, it takes a longer time actually for them. And on the other side, if you closely have a look, part of the job is basically being spent on this actually, right? I mean, like the time has been spent on this. So that means like they are very less productive than what they are supposed to be as part of their job, right? So this is a good insight. So that's what we thought actually. How do we solve this problem, right? How can we turn more productive hours for operations in terms of support, right? We immediately took a holistic look on what we are doing as an organization. So we have plenty of softwares within the bank. We use some of the major tools within the bank. MicroStrategy is one of them, in fact. And we have also used a couple of other softwares as well in terms of business intelligence. But another interesting insight was we've been only spending 25% of our cost on software, 75% of the cost towards BI services. What it really signifies, right? It's because we buy good softwares, and then but the end users was basically having a challenge in adopting them as part of their work. That means like it's not a true self-service, those tools, right? So apparently it's ending up hiring more people to provide that BI services using those softwares. So that's why this BI services was going 75 percentage from a cost perspective. On the other hand, we also try to measure, given all these things we are doing on one side, how the bank is basically doing in terms of data democracy, whether people have a right access to the data at the right time. That is something we try to measure. Then we realized there is a huge gap. Even after doing all the spend, even after 70,000 hours per day being spent towards these kind of activities, the data democracy is basically very less, which is only 2% of it. So yeah, so that was a massive challenge, right? So it's not something we can be able to solve in one night. So we have been through our journey. So we have come up with multiple ideas in order to do that. Some of the foundational steps, what we have done is basically we have brought most of the data which is required for the operations in a centralized data lake. That is a massive step. And then we are using MicroStrategy. So we immediately got a thought, maybe put a semantic graph and stitching the data, and then expose this for multiple purpose actually. So that is something which we got an immediate thought. So we did that, and we tried to enable some power users to leverage the semantic graph to produce their own reports and dashboards. But that's not enough, because the dashboards and reports only tell what it's supposed to tell, and it's only one person's idea, right? When it reaches to 1,000 people, they have a different perception actually. So it's very hard for them to consume this, but it's still good to have, right? So what we have done is basically we thought maybe it would be a great idea if we can democratize the data and insights to the powerful hands of the actual end users themselves, right? So one of the key challenge to do that is basically not many users are technical in nature actually. They can't be even able to handle the dashboard. Maybe they can be able to read the dashboard to an extent, but they cannot be able to interpret, or maybe they cannot be able to pivot it the way they want, right? So that's a challenge. So that's why we thought maybe we can use some of the advanced technologies like conversational AI. So what we did is like we came up with a quick solution. It's called SmartBot. What we did is basically we applied an NLP on top of the semantic graph which we built, and then we added some more intelligent components to it. And then there are plenty of features from a user perspective we created, and then we rolled out it to the end users. That was a massive success. Think about users can be able to ask the insight just by asking questions to SmartBot, and SmartBot able to understand that, resolve whatever they ask against the semantic graph, and respond with insights or maybe data in the form of a visualization in less than few seconds. So that's exactly what we achieved through SmartBot. A lot of tools in the market is trying this kind of technology, but how we did it differently is basically we completely brought whatever user-based requirements into the tool itself. Rather than keeping a kind of a search, we try to keep it a conversational AI, so that the bot completely aware about the whole conversation you as a user do with the SmartBot, and it doesn't really ask a repeated question because you have already asked a question and you already got some answers. So it completely engage you in a conversation. So that's basically SmartBot, right? So rather I'm talking too much about it. Actually, I want to show you SmartBot actually, right? So I hope it's going to be quite useful. This is one of the internal platform called a school, which is an app store of business services within the bank. So we've been building multiple apps and publishing here like an app store, like your phone. We have an app store within the bank, and there is a underlying data for every single apps. The good thing what we have done is basically we created SmartBot, and we tapped on the data on every single application with the security layer, and then we democratize that data with the help of a SmartBot. So that means like people who come to this platform can ask any questions about their data through the SmartBot. So that's how we democratize the data actually. Okay, so quickly have a look how SmartBot works. So you can see that there is a right-hand side, a small icon flashes out. So when the user clicks in, so once the user kicks in, the SmartBot opens. Okay, so the good thing about SmartBot is basically it completely identify you throughout the conversation. So what it means is basically it maintains a security at every single conversation. So you can see that it greets me with my name. That means like it already identify me when I log in, and it completely understand what kind of credentials I have. So that means like throughout my conversation, whatever I ask, it would be validated against my profile, and I can only see what I can see. And SmartBot would be only able to show whatever the data which I'm supposed to see, right? So that means like it has a security at scale. That's a massive thing. We also put a app store within SmartBot is because we don't want to leverage SmartBot for one application. There could be plenty of application would be involved in every single person's daily life. So we thought maybe it would be good to put an app store for a SmartBot so people can be able to quickly select from the app. Today I'm going to show one of our internal example. Of course, the data is mock-up for a demo purpose so that you can be able to quickly enjoy the different features of a SmartBot. So once the user chooses the app, what they want to see, then he moves further into the conversation, right? Like I mentioned, SmartBot not only democratizing only the data, but it also a democratization of data also needs a bit of a data literacy enablement. So what we have done is basically we have tried to put some features. That means like, because here the user is going to come and ask questions, but if they have many questions about what data it is, where it is coming from, who owns the data, so we put a bit more data literacy components. For example, we have a data catalog. So it will tell like from which source system, how frequently, how many number of attributes and measures being sourced, and who is the data owner. Not only that, people can be able to see, because one of the biggest issue in most of the end user consumption tools, particularly when they're consuming data, there's a lack of interpretation, right? So people doesn't understand what it means actually. The data definitions is not visible to them. Maybe it is lying as a Excel sheet somewhere else. So that's how the people are interpreting. So we want to solve the problem. So what we done is like within our platform, people can be able to see what is the definition for every single attribute which they are going to access in this particular platform, either attribute or measures. So there is a proper definition, and there will be a proper understanding. Not only that, also some frequently ask questions for educational purpose so people would understand that what kind of a question they should be able to ask actually. Means like how they can frame the questions. So now this is a thing actually. You can be able to ask questions more in a natural language. For example, I'm asking like, get me top 10 or maybe get me the head count. You can see that while I'm typing, it is also providing intelligence suggestions actually. So that would help a user to not lost the SmartBot carefully guide them actually what is the data model which is available within the platform, so that they can be able to access and trace these questions more conveniently. Get me headcount for top 10 countries. So like I mentioned, this is one of the HR application, right? So typically what happens is like within the bank, though HR data is being hosted in HR platform, me as a line manager and the HR BPs need to reach out to the HR data team to access this data. And there are 2,000 records being created every month only for accessing the data. So what we have done is basically we create a SmartBot and we put it on top of that HR data and we expose it to HRBPs everybody. Now today, if HRBP want to, HRBP or anybody, they want to ask a question, they can be able to access SmartBot and ask a question. So I'm asking a very simple question. Get me headcount for top 10 countries, right? So what SmartBot is doing behind is basically it is trying to resolve. Yeah. So it's trying to resolve the question which has been asked and against a semantic graph, and it's able to understand that this is a comparison of the headcount for the top 10 markets which Standard Chartered Bank operates, and it's get the headcount, and the best way to present this is basically a bar chart. So basically it's pivoted into a bar chart and it's presented. So that means like the whole process of accessing the data and then preparing a right visualization and presenting it to the user has been automated with the help of a SmartBot. And beyond that, the problem has been solved with the help of a natural language. So that means like that kind of a requirement analysis and all those phases being automated with the help of the SmartBot, right? So there are plenty of features with this SmartBot. Let me quickly show you that as well. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So you can see that there is a bar chart, right? So one of the biggest problem is people like different shapes and sizes, different visualizations. That's flexibility most of the BI tools offer. So we would like to, we don't want to stop that kind of flexibility. So what we have done basically, user can easily able to pivot it by themselves at the end user just by a click of a button actually, right? So that's absolutely possible. Not only that, another bigger feature is basically, so we don't want to only consumption tool, right? We want it to be a more collaborative and interactive tool. So how do we make it? So if you see the dashboards and reports, so most of the time the end users play with that and they consume, but they don't have anything to feedback to the tool itself, right? So what we have done is like we thought of bringing that kind of collaborative features within SmartBot. So that means like you asked a question and you got an insight. Now as a user you can be able to like this insight or dislike the insight. So what happens is basically it could come as a kind of recommendations based on your person next time. Or maybe when you dislike, what happens when you dislike? So when you dislike, there are multiple things can happen. So one is basically you dislike is because the actual answer which was response which was SmartBot has given is completely irrelevant. So that means like the bot needs training. So we put every single end user to feed some more intelligence and knowledge into the SmartBot. So that means like they can be able to train some of the taxonomies and the synonyms using the SmartBot. But that's not a big thing. What else we can do is basically, if you see in the market, none of the tools offer this capability, right? Which is basically, if you see there is an insight and there is some number which is completely off and there is a data quality issue, right? So what happens? Most of the users, they write a big email to the data owner and they try to manage the data quality by, that way, right? And or maybe there is a tool where they can go and raise an incident. But we want this to be a more collaborative tool. So what we have done is basically for every single insight which you are seeing, you can be able to raise a data quality issue within the tool itself. That means in a click of a button, you'll get a very, very simple, intuitive user interface where you can choose, for example, in the insight, you have seen the headcount as a metric. and attribute as country, then you can choose what type of problem. For example, I'm choosing here as accuracy problem. For example, Singapore head count seems wrong, right? The moment they submit, what happens? It goes as a notification to the data owner, which you have seen in the catalog. So that's how a data owner knows all the issues which has been arising on the consumption end. So what happens is basically we are trying to use SmartBot to for everyone to contribute to data quality, so that as a good data citizens, you do your part, and then we can improve the data quality centrally within the bank. So that is one thing SmartBot solve. Not only that, for example, the same question, show me, for example, the same metric I'm talking about down by a region. Standard Chartered operates in 4 different regions. So now just want a same metric by a different split. So as it more naturally. So now it come as a pie chart. It's because that's the best visualization based on the SmartBot, right? So now what happens is basically like since I use the same head count and I already raised a data quality issue, now the other user is asking a head count by region. So the SmartBot identifies that there are data quality issues reported on that metric, which maybe it's a different question, but still the metric is relevant. So maybe the user might need to aware that there is a data quality issue. So that means like it's highlighting either data quality issues has been reported for this data. Would you like to see? Please click here. So the moment you click over here, then you can see the data. You can see all the data quality issues. For example, the one which I raised now for Singapore numbers seems not correct, right? Which was raised by me, is absolutely visible immediately. So what happens is like it's not only we are reporting back the quality issues which we see in our data platform, but also we are also warning the other users not to use if there is a data quality issues, right? So that's why I call like it's not only simply an insight and data, but also there are a lot of collaborative features within the platform which we have made, right? So and there are plenty of other features also there. So for example, we also worked on a natural language generation, because the users see that there's a nice for a question, they can see a nice shapes and size. They get pretty much the insight whatever they want, but still they want a bit of insight from the system itself, right? So they click view insights. Then what happens? SmartBot run an intelligent algorithm, and it triangulate and explain that in a very simple natural language generation as well. So that means here it says like overall headcount for all the 4 regions is this, and for example ASA being the highest one, which covers 60%, and EA is good, lowest among them, and what's the total number of people across the EA region actually, right? So these kind of triangulation also it happens, and the SmartBot explains. So not only that, there are a few more collaborative features. For example, you can even share this insight within the platform itself with your colleague. For example, you can choose your colleague and you can say like, hey, look at this, right? So even you can submit, and what happens is basically they get a notification, and basically they would be able to click and see the insight straight away as well, right? This insight as a straight away. So not only that, we also have another feature called a smart alert. What it is, for example, in HR, a lot of people track the headcount and attrition. So they like the SmartBot, but they don't want to get into their system just for tracking some of the KPIs, right? So that's why we created Smart Alert. That means like they can just ask the question first time, and once the insight come, yeah, it's nice. Now I want to track this metric actually. Whatever the condition you can mention as a threshold. For example, a head count and what attribute at the region level, and for example, Asia. So for example, for this particular region, if the threshold is breaches by 100,000, basically I want to be informed. So that means like you submit the alert. So what happens is like the alert runs in the background, and whenever it reaches, then you will get a link in your email, and you click, and you will end up in SmartBot seeing that number being reached the threshold already. So this is also a very good feature which many people got benefited. Not only that, at any point of time you want to save an insight, so even you can click it as your favorite actually, right? What happens is like your selected question has been added to your favorites. So that means like next time you start over, right? And you go to your app, and then you will have your favorite section. In fact, so you can go to your favorites, and you can see the question. I mean, the question which I asked is also being available as a favor. That means you click that, then you get straight away, right? So that means because people ask a lot of questions, and they don't want to ask every time coming to the tool, so that's why we can save it as a favorite, right? So yeah, so that's those are the important features. But another very good feature which we have done is basically, though we push a lot of data and insights into this tool, and they get a lot of shapes and sizes and very intelligent insights within the tool itself, at the end of the day we can't eliminate that people want to download this data into the Excel, right? So how we simplified that, right? That means like conversationally you can even ask SmartBot to do it. Like for example, I want to create a self-service report. So just asking that the SmartBot notes that you want to create a self-service report, and then it opens up a simplified user interface with the security, so that the entire data model behind this app is available for you to choose what you want to download. So you can simply choose what are the metrics, and you can choose what are the simply attributes. Just click of a button, you can do all these things, and then you can even apply the filters actually, or multiple filters you can be able to add as well, right? And then you can submit. So what happens is basically SmartBot then, based on your inputs, it runs against the data model and create a sample first actually, because before you download that, it creates a bit of a sample. So this is a grid format which is going to become in your Excel, right? So it has a pagination as well. Then it asks you, would you like to download actually? Then the moment you click yes, then basically you get your report as Excel straight away, right? So it's a very intuitive. Not only this is one time, you can be able to save your reports. Again, it goes to your favorites, and you can be able to access this report at any point of time. So yeah, so SmartBot covers all these things. So if you noticed, actually what we have done is basically we created historically the data lake. On top we created a semantic graph, we created a dashboard and the reports, everything. The same semantic graph has been exported into this SmartBot as a conversational AI utility. So, and it's the same data in fact, and we are able to completely uh, ask a natural language question more freely. And you have seen the multiple, there are 21 different features are there actually within the SmartBot. So user can be able to ask us and ask this question. Think about like, it took few seconds. In fact, we have tested there are about 100,000 rows got downloaded in less than a few seconds, in fact. So, and it's also much faster. We're not using any cubes and all, and we put it on the semantic graph itself, and we put a perfect architecture behind the SmartBot, so it's able to completely enable data democratization for all the users. So we also do have a SmartBot analytics as well. So that means like we can be able to monitor what people are doing. This is only to improve the products and services of SmartBot to the end users. So that's pretty much in a demo of SmartBot. I'm going to quickly jump back to my slide, and we'll go through the benefits because you have seen plenty of things, but I would like to quantify what it means as a returns to Standard Chartered Bank by investing in this kind of technology. Okay, so what we achieved as a bank by innovating, right? So one of the reason bank is also, since it's a global bank, during COVID times, we have been running with a lot of cost pressure that made us to innovate a lot. So SmartBot is also one of them. That's how it was driven. So finally, what we achieved, right? So we have completely our client service team. They For them we rolled out a first use case, and they tried out. And then one of the biggest challenge with them is basically, uh, I think. One of the biggest challenge which bank was facing was the frustration during the client service, right? It's because they need to call for the same thing 10 times or 15 times, the bank itself, right? It's not a fault. It's because there is a plenty of data points needed in order to serve the customer more properly, right? And pulling all these data points and stitching it and showing the insights, and also more flexibly even during the call, is a quite challenging thing. So that's why we put a smart bot for our clients service managers. A pilot experiment has really showed us there is an increase of client experience by 11 percentage. So that means like people were my client service managers able to close some of the calls more quickly than before. Not only that, they were able to address the client more detail, and in fact they were quite happy with the call. In fact, the service response were also quite good. So that's how we measure the increased client experience. And then one more thing is like the risk managers. Like these days, identifying a risk is very difficult, is because risk always have this interconnectedness, right? You need to put a lot of data points, and you need to make an interconnectedness, and with that interconnectedness, you need to identify what are all the insights. So it's a tedious process. Risk is always one area they need this kind of help. So we put SmartBot for one of the use case with risk, and we enabled SmartBot with them, and they were able to quickly ask a lot of questions, in fact, and they were able to perform their job more faster, more better than before, actually. So that means like there is an operational efficiency improvement, which is 18 percentage, which is a lot. Sorry. And then finally, like there's a lot of data points, right? It's human behavior. It's we can't be able to digest all these dimensions, more dimensions in a short period of time. So what we have done is like we did an experiment where we pulled all the sales data, and also the client portfolio, and their product recommendations, everything. And we were the semantic graph has been injected into the SmartBot, and we put enable a SmartBot for our client portfolio managers. So the interesting thing is like these are all relationship managers. They know well about their client, but they were completely unaware about the relationship, particularly their client portfolio could be more interested in. That is something more missed opportunities which we realized. So that means like there are a lot of new opportunities has been realized. In fact, the first these are all the opportunities which is identified. Of course, what is the now we are in a process to convert them, in fact. So but so far so good. And then but identifying an opportunity itself is a bigger step. I think without SmartBot it's really highly impossible to identify, because the key challenge here is relationship manager can ask a lot of questions, actually, and it can't be covered with one single meeting with us, right? And similarly, there are a lot of data can be stitched by the data specialist, but cannot be able to carry what relationship manager could ask, right? So that's where we brought SmartBot and solved this problem, and it was quite immense value for both sales team plus also our back office team as well. So that was a massive achievement. So yeah, so that's pretty much about the SmartBot, which I want to take you through today, actually. So my bottom line is basically like we were never started our journey with looking for great ideas, actually, right? We were genuinely trying to solve a problem. But of course, we try to find a better way to solve our problem. Like I mentioned, some of the pressures, like cost pressures, also enable us to innovate, right? So always innovation is driven by a purpose, and we had our purpose, and finally we were able to reap the benefits with the help of an innovation. So SmartBot is such an innovation capability. And yeah, I'm happy to cover any questions if you guys. Otherwise, I will also leave my whereabouts, my email IDs and all that. So if you have any questions, you can even write to me. And finally, I would like to thank MicroStrategy for this opportunity to talk in the MicroStrategy world. And it's my second time speaking as a speaker, and it was a great opportunity. Of course, at this time it is virtual, so I couldn't be able to meet most of you, but I would like to do that in future. But it was really a great arrangement what MicroStrategy has done, and it was a great opportunity. Thank you very much.